edition of Monica at Home. I am Alexandra Mayers, previously and better known as Monica Foster, best known of course for my official website, www.monicaf.com, but of course the website that I made specifically for this broadcast, www.monicaathome.com. Now, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a broadcast, and I'm actually very glad that I allowed a good amount of time to go by between my last broadcast and now, because I've needed to collect my thoughts. I've gone through quite a transition. As usual, it seems as though I'm always going through a transition, but then again, we as people are consistently evolving. But quite a bit of adult entertainment industry news and non-adult entertainment industry news has transpired since my last broadcast. So I do feel that now is a good time for me to go ahead and bring you my views and thoughts and relate to you some of the events that have transpired that have to do with the subject matter of this broadcast. Now, for those of you who are watching for the first time, Monica at Home is a broadcast about adult entertainment industry news, gossip, events, happenings, but more and more this broadcast is becoming just a bit of a commentary about my thoughts and perspectives in regards to the topics that I discuss. Now, normally I do this broadcast live, but tonight I'm not, mainly because there's no reason for me to do it live. I probably will do a live broadcast and take some questions and comments later on in the week, but tonight I'm just going to relate to you some of the things that are going on and my thoughts on the things that are going on. Now, I suppose I'll start this broadcast by mentioning something that I wrote on my Twitter today, which is, if anyone were to ask me about moving to LA or Hollywood, I'd say that if you want an education that money can't buy and that could possibly kill you, then you do it. And that's true. You know, over the past 3 years, it's been quite the experience and quite the journey that I've been fortunate enough and unfortunate enough to have had the privilege of taking. Now, many of you are aware of my first book, which is Getting Into Porn, the Handbook, which is a guide on the porn industry. It's a textbook of sorts, and it is available on Amazon.com. But I will be releasing my next book very, very, very shortly. I'm actually glad I haven't released it yet. The title of my next book will be Getting Into Porn, The Journeys. And I'm really glad that I haven't released it, or rather them, because it's a 13-part series. I'm glad I haven't released it yet because I thought the journey was complete earlier last year, but it wasn't. I don't think the journey is complete as of yet, but it's just about complete, at least in regards to this phase of the journey. You know, throughout the past 3 years, I'll have lived out here in the LA area, specifically Hollywood, for exactly 3 years as of July 5th of this year, 2011. And I'm really glad that I've kept up with my written blogs and this video commentary, Monica at Home, because it's a really good record. It's a good record of someone who hasn't made it big in adult entertainment, but who's out there and who's observed things, at least from a particular perspective. You know, there are quite a few records out there of people's journeys throughout the adult entertainment industry, but mine's definitely quite unique. You know, I actually wonder if I had a bit of foresight in regards to my journey when I created my website, gettingintoporn.com, especially when I listened to the video intro that I created in regards to it, because this journey has definitely been very unique. You know, I've made a lot of friends and a lot of enemies throughout this journey. I probably started out as a friend and then later became an enemy to others throughout this journey. Not intentionally so, but, you know, it just happened. It really just happened, but you know, it's been such a good lesson when it comes to life. You know, I've written on my blog before that there's a very thin line, if any line at all, between someone that you love and somebody that you hate, mainly because such an extreme feeling comes from the same place within. You know, it's just, if there is such a thing as alternate universes and alternate realities, then I think that many of our friends and lovers that we have in this reality just might be our enemies in an alternate reality, and vice versa. You know, it takes me back to thinking about comic books and cartoons that I used to watch as a child and as a teen, and even sometimes now. You know, like when you think of Superman and then the bizarro world Superman, and how, you know, a lot of Superman's enemies were friends in the alternate reality and vice versa. You know, it's just very minute twists of fate, and just very small events that can shift a person's perspective and shift a person's intentions as to whether they want to be someone who's helpful to others or hurtful to others. And strangely, sometimes actions that you take when it comes to interacting with others, if you know that you might intend on being helpful, but then you can wind up being hurtful, and vice versa. It's fun. It's really funny how that is. And, you know, one thing that I definitely intended on when I first entered the adult entertainment industry was to be as open and honest as possible. I really wanted to allow people to get to know me. And it kind of backfired. I suppose I wanted people to get to know only the part of me that I was comfortable in presenting, which at the time I thought was really the only facet of who I am. I didn't want to look at other facets of myself. I guess subconsciously I knew that they were there, but I felt that if I buried certain parts of me and even certain parts of my past enough, that they would cease to exist and that nobody would notice. But certain people did. Certain people did. Not that those parts of me needed to be buried, or not that those parts of my history needed to be hidden. You know, I actually feel like those were parts of me that were parts that only I should have had the privilege of sharing, but I chose to enter the public eye. And by doing so, I opened the door to a lot of criticism, something that I wasn't necessarily ready for, which is something that I hope anyone thinking about entering porn or just entertainment in general evaluates as to whether or not that's something that they are prepared to deal with. Which leads me to an update that I wanted to give many of you who have followed me over the past few months or years or however long about the Pornwikleaks project, because quite a bit has been revealed over the past week or so, courtesy of a new good friend of mine who goes by the name of Mike South. He runs a website called mikesouth.com, and if you're someone who's interested in learning quite a bit about the adult entertainment industry, you need to read his blog, definitely. But getting back to people getting to know a lot more of me than I'd imagined, it was the Pornwikleaks project that opened that door, you know, and it wasn't their right to do so. It has been confirmed that Donnie Long, aka Donald Carlos Cion, is the registered contact and owner of the website. Has he been working alone on this project? No. However, it was he primarily, that's how I have to present it at this stage, who took it upon himself to go into great detail and via a very negative perspective and rather embarrassing and hurtful, a very embarrassing and hurtful way that he did it about certain people's pasts. He probably did it because he feels like he's been wronged, but two wrongs don't make a right. But anyway, let me give you guys an update in regards to who's been attached to the Pornwikleaks website, because it's quite interesting. Now, one person who's been connected to it, to where I saw it for quite some time, and as soon as I saw it, I was severely attacked because I suppose they thought no one should be vocal about it, even though they've received a lot of web traffic, and that web traffic has turned into some financial gain for them. Malcom has been one of the companies attached to the site. Malcom is owned and operated by an individual by the name of Jerry Alharoni. You can see all of this on gettingintoporn.blogspot.com and mikesouth.com. Someone who I figured was already attached to it by the name of Michael Fatarosi, also known as Porn Law. He has been called out in regards to having communication with the owner of the site as recently as April 7th of 2011, according to mikesouth.com. Let's see, somebody by the name of, give me one moment, John Filosi. And there's several other names as well. There's several. You know, it's a shame. It's really a shame that so many people had so much to say about others. So much to say about others in such in such a negative way too. But they didn't have the guts to do it without hiding. It really says a lot. I've said a lot of things over the years that I shouldn't have said. I said things out of hurt. I've said things that stemmed from me being naive, from me not living life or having lived life long enough. But I can acknowledge that there have been a lot of people that I've actually apologized to, and there's probably some people that I still need to apologize to that I haven't. But I've always put my name to everything that I've said, or at least my stage name. I've never hidden anything that I've said. I haven't done that. And I have no respect for people who do that. Not at all. Not at all. I think that this entire Pornwikleaks fiasco actually is a good lesson to quite a few. Not just the people who were behind it and who were malicious, but also some of the people who have been the recipients of the attacks. I think that anyone who's followed the situation has probably learned that we all need to grow up. We all need to take more responsibility for what we say and how we treat people. We all need to be kinder to one another. So, what else do I want to discuss tonight? Well, one more thing I want to add to the Pornwikleaks update is that it's amazing to me how so few people stepped up to fight back in regards to the situation. I say the primary person who stepped up to, take command and lead the resistance has been Mike South. And he's not really very active even in the adult industry right now. He maintains his blog and, I'm sure he puts some shoots together. But he didn't have to step up to the plate, but he did. There have been others who probably have just as much resources and who are a lot more active in the adult entertainment community or industry who should have stepped up. I have to question why Derek of LA Direct, at least from what I know, didn't seem to do too much. I'd like to know why Shy Love of ATMLA didn't do very much from what I could observe. I'd like to know why Steve Hirsch of Vivid didn't do very much. Quite a few people, quite a few who could have, who didn't. And this is something that will be remembered. I've come to realize that throughout this process, I've questioned myself and I've gone back and forth in regards to, gosh, should I stay in the adult world or should I start my life over? I go back and forth, back and forth. But I've never had regret. And as long as I'm breathing, I will be a part of the adult entertainment industry. Not so much as a talent, but behind the scenes, because I have some ideas that I know nobody else has. I was born for this. there have been parts of me that I haven't wanted to acknowledge, that at first when they came out I was like, oh gosh, I can't believe that this is out there. But it's a part of who I am. I never had to enter the adult entertainment world. I never had to. I didn't grow up poor, as you can see from what's been written about me on that damn website. I'm somebody who had an interest, and I suppose a part of me didn't necessarily want the world to know that I had the interest in the adult entertainment industry, but I do. That's who I am. I was born for this. Not necessarily as a performer though, but as someone who works behind the scenes in a certain capacity. And that's what I will do for the rest of my life. I will be around. There have been people who have tried to chase me away. There have been people who have tried to say, oh, that's not for you. But it is. So, you know, I actually had a talk with someone tonight who's recently become a good acquaintance of mine about this, and we were discussing the future of porn and the new generation that's coming up. You know, there's a lot of changes that do need to be made, and I do hope that I can assist. I think I already have assisted, but I do hope to assist in creating an adult entertainment industry that's a lot more professional, that's a lot more likable, and that's seen as a lot more valid. You know, I do believe that the workers need to be taken better care of. Not that, you know, of course, everyone who works in adult entertainment is an adult. But that doesn't mean that when you enter, especially if you're very young, you know, the minimum age to work in adult entertainment is 18 years old. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily very mature. You know, I'm 32 years old now, and in some ways I am mature, but in other ways I have so long and so far to go. Especially when it comes to the financial realm. I haven't been very financially responsible. I'm just now improving that part of my life, and some people who have cared about me and taken care of me over the years, I know I've disappointed them, and I hope to rectify that. But it's been a learning process. And you know, sometimes you coast, not because it's intentional, but just because sometimes that's what we do. Sometimes things are made too easy for us, and it takes you losing everything and going to zero, complete zero, before you realize what you need to do in order to be a productive and responsible human being. You know, I've always been somebody who's so strong-willed, and maybe it's because I'm a Capricorn. I've been so hard-headed, and I think that this has been a lesson that I've needed to learn in order to become the person that I want to be and that I should have been all along. You know, I've always been so intent on helping others that I've neglected myself and my own responsibilities of just taking better care of myself. And it happens sometimes. You know, sometimes I've been so bitter in regards to not having become a parent or entering a marital relationship. Well, I've been married once before, it didn't work out. But having a solid relationship and having a family. But, you know, in so many ways I'm glad, because there's no way I would be a good mother right now. There's been so much that I've needed to learn. And I've had to learn how to properly take care of myself and not shirk responsibility and not blame everyone but myself for things going wrong. You know, I think to myself, if I had become a parent any earlier, probably wouldn't have taught my children the best way of living. So, you know, those are just some thoughts that I've had. But let's see, what else do I want to discuss tonight? Let's see. Well, I do want to give an update on Kacey Jordan and my thoughts on that. And before I do, I've received some criticism as of late from some individuals who say that I don't discuss African American porn stars enough. I don't think that that's true, but maybe it is. It hasn't been my intention. I suppose that I haven't fixated on the trials and tribulations of many African American porn stars because I don't know what's going on with them. I would love to see more African American porn stars put themselves out there a bit more so that I can know what's going on with them, whether it be positive or negative, and so that I can talk about it. Or maybe some don't want to be talked about. You know, hey, maybe it's for the best. I really don't know. But it hasn't been my intention. Not at all. I will say that I have begun to wonder what's happened with Misty Stone as of late. You know, it seemed like she was on the fast track for a while. You know, she's someone I was just talking about with someone recently. She's someone, I was so impressed with her when I met her. I really was. She's a girl I would love to work with as a talent one day. Sometime soon when I direct my first adult feature. She's someone I would love to cast and work with because forget about her being a porn star. She's just one hell of an actress. You know, she does have a Twitter. Her Twitter is twitter.com, Misty Stone, XXX. I think she should make a blog. But I haven't seen her at any adult industry events, at least not in the photos. And I do check the photos recently, like on sites like avn.com and xviz.com. So maybe she'll resurface sometime soon. I hope so. But anyway, getting back to Kacey Jordan. Now the last time I spoke about her, you know, that was my last broadcast. I documented that she was raped. She was allegedly raped in Las Vegas. She shut down her old Twitter, which was Miss Kacey Jordan, and she reopened a new one, which is Miss C. Nicole. At first I wasn't sure it was really her, but it is. I was a bit concerned for her recently because she chose to go to Hong Kong, which I felt was a bit strange considering that she was just recently sexually attacked, but she did. I don't think it turned out to be what she thought it would be. She went to go meet a guy. She made a few videos that I thought were a bit erratic, that showed some emotional tension and trauma. And from what I'm aware of, now she's back in the United States, which is good. You know, when I did Twitter about my concern, I received a tweet back from her mother because I was a bit critical of her mother. Now I am going to take her mother's word for it that she has been very worried about her daughter because, look, I know when I was Kacey's age, I guess the reason that I've been following her plight has been because when it comes to her actions, I see so much of my younger self. Really do. And when I was her age, I didn't listen to anybody. When I was her age, I was an exotic dancer. I thought I knew everything. I hope the girl sees this broadcast. I hope you see this, Miss Courtney or Kacey. I know you're in flux in regards to who you are. I'm going to say something right now that might hurt your feelings, but you need to listen to it, because considering your personality, most likely as you mature, you'll probably mature into someone not too dissimilar from yourself. So I want you to listen to this as your future self talking to yourself. You're not entitled to anything, and you're acting like a spoiled brat. And the world doesn't owe you anything. And you're no more special than anyone else. Your looks will fade, and your youth will fade. And if you're not careful, you'll have wasted all of your youth, and you'll end up with not much of anything to show for it later. You'll end up losing people who you should have retained as friends. You've already disappointed many people because you have not been living up to your potential. You're not disciplined. And the only way that you're going to be disciplined is by buckling down and cutting the crap. I'm not saying to you don't work in the adult entertainment industry, but you know Sasha Grey. You're no Jenna Hayes. And you're no Jessie Jane. And from what I can observe, that's not who you want to be anyway. So, being that you are a very good actress, work on that. And start building something for yourself that you can really be proud of one day. And that's all I have to say to you. As of current, I want to say a big thank you to the programmer and developer of therealpornwikileaks.com. His name is Sean, and he wrote a really nice wiki about me. It actually made me choked up a little bit. It was very nice. You know, the purpose of that site is to counter Pornwikleaks. It's the opposite. It's a positive spin on the truth of people who work in adult entertainment. He and Mercedes Ashley, actually, it was their brainchild to put it together. And everyone needs to check it out. You know, it just goes to show that from something so negative, there can be something that's spawned that's positive. So I did want to talk about that today. I wanted to discuss something that I observed in regards to a new adult star by the name of Bibi Jones, also known as Brittany Beth. I had the chance to speak with over the phone a friend of hers who on Twitter is known as Michael Lex. For those of you who aren't aware, Bibi Jones is the newest Digital Playground contract girl. I first became aware of her through MikeSouth.com. He tends to find the most beautiful girls, which later often become digital playground stars. He was instrumental in developing King Cross's career. I mean, she developed it herself, but he helped her along the way. And now Bibi Jones. However, as of late, Bibi Jones has been attacked by the company which contracted her. And I've learned some things via Michaelette's in regards to some of the attacks that have been made upon her. And I will touch on this again on the next broadcast of Monica at Home. But it's been from within the company that contracted her. Now, I suppose that the reason that Bibi Jones has really caught my attention is because she came into the adult industry with already having a fan base. She already had a Twitter account which had a mass amount of followers. In fact, let me check how many followers she has right now. Alright, right now she's up to over 54,000 followers. Now, first, let me just talk about her on a surface level. She really does look like a younger version of longtime digital playground contract girl Jessie Jane, in my view. Not exactly. I mean, there are differences. Their faces they have different facial structure. But overall, appearance. And coincidentally, it was Jessie Jane that recruited Bibi. Now, let me give you a bit of history. And this is history that I learned via Michaelette, her friend. Now, Michael told me when Bibi first entered, and I'm going to write a blog about this too, with details. He told me that when Bibi first entered, or thought about entering the porn industry, keep in mind she's 19 years old, she first approached Mark Spiegler, but she wound up not going with him as an agent. She backtracked, you know, she's 19, I guess she decided, maybe this isn't for me. Then later, she was approached by Jessie Jane and recruited by her into Digital Playground. She wound up first initially doing a web show with Jessie Jane. Then she wound up signing the contract with Digital Playground, but without any of her own people present to go over the contract. Now, and again, that's what I've heard from Michaelette, but if this is true, and I believe him, he told me that everything that he disclosed to me was entirely truthful. Being that she's only 19 years old, I'm sure she's a very mature girl, seems to have some common sense, seems to be very smart. But in that situation, I think anyone without much contractual knowledge should have somebody on their team with them to go over a contract prior to signing. She signed for 5 years with Digital Playground. Now, where some problems have come in that I've observed and that Michaelette's disclosed to me has been that I think Jessie Jane may feel a bit competitive with Bibi or Brittany Beth. And, you know, that's pretty natural when it comes to the changing of the guard. I think in any situation such as, you know, this, they do have a similar look. You know, Bibi may be getting more attention. It seems to me that Jessie may be looking to spread her wings a bit. Actually, as of current, she's a trendsetter. She has renamed her Twitter from Jessie Jane to her real name, Cindy Taylor. I was actually speaking with somebody tonight that a new trend may be for adult talents not even to use the stage name, maybe in some cases, but really, being that everyone's real name is being put out there anyway, what's the point? But it seems that as Jessie or Cindy has become aggravated with the situation in regards to Bibi and vice versa, Jessie has started to morph more so into herself, which is Cindy Taylor. But what's disturbed me about this situation, and especially when it comes to what Michael Letts shared with me over the phone, was that it seems that Jessie has become very aggressive with Bibi. Psychologically and also physically. Michael told me about an altercation, and some people blogged about this too on the adult industry blogs, in regards to a movie that the two girls were shooting together, to where Jessie maybe became too wrapped up in her character and physically hurt Bibi. And that's unacceptable. I actually feel that those who are in behind the scenes management type positions in that situation should not have allowed that to occur. You know, I'm sure that everything has been smoothed over at this stage and everything, but the one thing that I did share with Michael Letts to relay to Bibi Jones, aka Brittany Beth, is that being that she is a valuable commodity in adult entertainment, and I'm not just, I'm not, I hope I don't sound like I'm referring to her as an object, but let's be real here. In adult entertainment, even though everyone who works in adult entertainment, we are human beings, we are people, when you're an entertainer, you are a brand, and you are a product. And sometimes when people can't control you or own you, or if they want to break you down in order for you to fall in line, they will not just psychologically intimidate you, they may physically hurt you. And what I disclosed to Michael is that, being that she's so young, and being that she's very vulnerable, even though she is working with one of the best companies in adult entertainment, which is Digital Playground, I've always been very impressed with their movies and with how corporate they are as a porn company. You know, to me, they're along the lines of Adam and Eve and Wicked. But I don't believe that Bibi Jones should ever be by herself without someone who's totally on her team when she comes out from, I believe she resides in Arizona, when she travels from Arizona to California to work, because there will be so many people who are very jealous of her, who will want to hurt her. And sometimes people that you think are your friends and who have your best interests at heart in the world of adult entertainment, because the world of adult entertainment is ruthless. It is the most dangerous and ruthless industry I believe that there is. You know, I'm going to keep my eye on this girl from, the Monica Foster news desk, but those around her really need to watch out for her, because there's not many girls in the industry who are like her. I mean, I feel like the quality of the performer has steadily gone downhill, and she's someone unique. You know, she's received a lot of criticism for something that made me realize that I was made to work in the adult entertainment industry. Some people criticize some things that she said in the Howard Stern show about her being very sexually aware at a very young age, and that it either couldn't possibly be true or that something was wrong with her. No. As many of you who have researched me know, I grew up in a very conservative household with very conservative parents, but there was something in me that did not stem from any sexual abuse or any sexual encounters at a young age, but to where I had a heightened interest in sexuality at an age that was much younger than most people would be comfortable with someone having a awareness of sexuality at. I didn't even see anything. I just somehow innately knew this girl's the same. Some people are made to do certain things, and not to say that she'll always work in adult entertainment, not to say that is even the right choice for her, but that's where she's at. So, you know, I'm interested to see how she progresses and what she does. But, you know, I think a lot of people have looked at the situation as either being Team Jessie or Team Bibi. I mean, if I had to pick a side, I would pick Team Bibi, because she really never needed to have a contract, in my view. She's an interesting case because what I outline in my book, Getting Into Porn, the Handbook, is going the agency route versus going the independent route. And which is better? She's going to be an interesting case study for me to watch in regards to whether she should have gone the agency route or whether she should have retained her independence. I personally feel 5 years is a bit long for a contract, and I shared that with Michaelette's. For her, in her case, I think 3 years maybe. But when I look at her potential in regards to branding products, starting her own studio, endorsements, gigs that will stem from having worked in adult. I mean, Sasha Grey. This is another Sasha Grey or Jenna Hayes, this Bibi Jones. I was actually very impressed to see Sasha Grey in a starring role in Eminem's most recent video. That's what this girl's going to do. She probably won't even work in adult very long. Or she'll do both, adult and mainstream. Yeah. But she's a girl who I think could make more retaining her independence rather than working as a contract girl. But I do feel being a contract girl will give her extreme exposure, especially if she doesn't have people around her who are aware of how to market her to her full potential as an independent talent. So, you know, it'll be interesting to watch. But one thing that has bothered me a bit in regards to the Bibi Jones situation has been, and you know, people do tend to pick sides. Like I said, I'm Team Bibi, okay? But I really don't like a lot of the bad-mouthing people have done in regards to this young girl, because she is a human being, and I am an authority when it comes to telling you that the slander and the attacks, they hurt. It is something that she'll have to get used to, just as it's something I've had to get used to, but it hurts. And there's people who have written things about her that have been adult industry bloggers and writers for years. And they didn't need to go there, not with a girl this young. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but like I said, in the adult entertainment industry, people need to become so much more professional, especially for the industry to be seen as a valid workplace when it comes to the mainstream world's perspective. And those within the industry need to treat their peers and others within far more respectfully and in a much kinder way. Because in the end, it's your peers within whatever industry that you're in that will ultimately or should ultimately give you the utmost support. Because other people looking into the adult industry, they already see you as like the worst people in the world. So, you gotta just support each other and not tear each other down so much. I've been very guilty of tearing others down through feelings of envy, jealousy, misunderstanding. And anyone I've done that to, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. And actually, if you're someone out there who feels that I owe them an apology, let me know. Let me know. So that's going to go ahead and conclude this broadcast of Monica at Home. And if you would like to see some more of me or learn more about me, you can always visit monicaathome.com. Also my official website, monicaF.com. And my new endeavor, which is sexyhealthyliving.com. Take care, everybody. Treat others that you know with dignity, respect, and kindness if you can. And I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.